Everybody, welcome back to another awesome episode over here at Sojo. And this week I had the opportunity to speak with Vaughn, and Vaughn has an awesome story. And I think it's something that can reach a lot of people because Vaughn himself wasn't doing what he should in high school. Kind of started hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing his own things, and not to bring it up a lot to Vaughn's point, but dropped out of high school. And I mean, things looked bleak for him, but because of some opportunities and talking to certain people, he ended up going to JUCO, and JUCO ended up being kind of his golden ticket to where Vaughn is now. Vaughn had the opportunity to get back into football, back into playing. He even ran college track, which he has no background for, which was awesome to see something unique. But it just goes to show, like, sports can help in so many different ways. And even if it's not, a straight direct path from A to B, going straight to college, going to the NFL, whatever that is, it still serves a purpose and it can help. And the impact that sports had on Vaughn's life is something that he is definitely giving back in his world of coaching and to those that he has the opportunity to coach and help out and train and mentor, and just a lot of different relationships are built there. So I hope you guys enjoy Vaughn's story, his upbringing, his background, and kind of the unique path that he had, his journey. And it's a journey that isn't over. He's still playing arena ball, still playing professional there, still pursuing his own dreams on the field and off the field with everyone he's there. So without further ado, hope you guys enjoy, and here's Vaughn. Sweet. So I'd like to appreciate Vaughn being on the show with us today. Excited to hear some of his insights. Vaughn definitely has traveled and been through the JUCO ranks. I think he's gonna have some cool insights for us.
Definitely.
Appreciate you, Vaughn.
Yeah.
Okay, so jumping into this. So you're over there in Iowa now, and I know you were in Kansas previously, but where does this whole sports journey for you really, where does it begin? What's the starting point for you?
Well, I guess if you want to go all the way back, I mean,
All the
I,
way
f- I, f-
back.
I feel like I kind of, I actually grew up, like my first memories of sports, I feel like I loved basketball initially. And I can remember one Sunday morning, I was at like my cousin's house. And like I have my older cousin, he was probably like 19 or 20 years old. Um, and I was probably like 4 or 5 maybe. Five, I would say five. I was trying to watch cartoons. He came in and turned Sunday morning football on. You know what I mean? And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to watch football. And he sat me there and forced me to watch it. And as soon as I started watching it, I was in front of the TV all day, like all day. It was like Dan Marino. It was a Dolphins game. Then I watched a Cowboys game later. So Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, all those type of guys.
Yeah.
Like that's the first game I can remember. Um, but kind of at that point, I think I became a fan of it. We didn't, we didn't have football till you turned 8 in New Mexico, so I couldn't play tackle football till I was 8, and then we didn't have flag football or nothing like that, at
Yeah.
that point. So, started playing tackle football in third grade, and was real invested. I think all the way through middle school. Um, I had so my real dad died when I was like 5 or 6. I had a stepdad for some years, so he kind of was like my football coach and this and that. Um,
Yeah.
and then when him and my mom kind of had their stuff going on, like in the middle school, I was like 14, 15. I really kind of like went off the deep end a little bit for a couple of years. So like my high school football career was very like just rocky in general, just because I wasn't, I was out doing other stuff. I was, hanging with people I shouldn't have been hanging with. I probably had too much freedom. I was very, um, you know, non-obedient at home at that time. Um, and I was able to have some good coaches who kind of were able to pull me out of, what I was going through right before my senior year, I could say. But, they knew I had some ability and they were just kind of trying to get me to lock in. And, but by
Yeah.
that time it's kind of too late, like as far as recruitment goes and stuff like that. Um, had a good senior year. That was my only year of varsity football, and not because I couldn't play. It was because I was just really like, I got kicked off the team as a junior. Didn't make grades for the first 6 weeks. Then second 6 weeks, I got caught, doing something I shouldn't have been doing. I don't really want to reveal everything, but
But you
you know,
good.
just a kind of a learning lesson. But I did have a coach at that time who was on me, and he didn't give up on me, and he saw something in me, and he made it bigger than football. And I think that was kind of what drew me to be a coach as well. Like down the line, was looking back at that experience with him, and him, seeing kind of a troubled kid, but seeing something in me that I might have not seen in myself. So, and I think that comes to value for me as a coach, because I'm able to see things in some kids that, people might have given up on. And, sometimes you just need that little push, and that's kind of what I did. So, they were able to really help me, so I go through my senior year, I was doing good. Everything was good. Kind of when the football season ended, and like a lot of my friends were kind of getting, the PWO to New Mexico, or getting an offer. And, like schools would come in, and like Eastern New Mexico was trying to come in and talk to me, but I just didn't have like I had bombed my entire, second semester of freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. Like I was in sophomore English as a senior. I was in ninth grade PE as a senior. Like I was just, I was supposed to only be at school half the day, but I'm in all these classes. So like I was not academically eligible for college football at all. That was my mindset. And I felt like I had a pretty good season. Like I had like 70 something tackles, couple picks, and, a lot of TFLs. I think I had like 6 or 8 TFLs at safety. So, I was playing defense then, but I had a decent enough year to feel like I could have like got a little D2 look or something if I was, you know, had the grades. So I really kind of
Sure.
went off the deep end after that point. Stopped going to class, just, you know, out again with the people that I shouldn't have been around. I dropped out of school about February of my senior year because I had all these credits to make up, and it was just like, I was gonna have to do a full load at the school, like 3 classes a night school, like just to graduate on time and not in the summer. And it was just, it was hard kind of seeing like my bullshit kind of add up, I guess, like at a young age, like feeling like I deserved something that I really didn't, because I didn't do the work. Like I really didn't, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
it's like I kind of reaped what I sowed at that point. But then so I dropped out of school. I actually started playing like men's league semi-pro with like some dude who I used to do bad stuff with, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
in the trenches with it in Albuquerque playing men's league football. I'm 17 at the time. Like I lied on the paper to sign and said I was 18. I was really only 17, so I was out there playing with like a bunch of old dudes. But I was like doing pretty well, and I had a couple guys out there who, like, one guy was like, "Man, what are you doing out here?" And I'm like, I got my GED, like didn't think I could do anything, like I was like, "Man, I'm just out here playing, like, this is just my stress relief at this point, like I'm just trying to get some steam off."
Yeah.
And we were playing a game, and I ended up seeing this guy who, rest in peace, he actually passed away a couple years back, but he was doing the sticks. He was the chain gang, and he saw me out there. I was walking down kickoff. He went to the same high school as me. He was a baseball player. He was nice. So he ended up going to JUCO. So literally, like, I'm having a conversation with this dude as the ball's about to get kicked off. I'm like 17 playing in some men's league football game. He's like, "Man, what are you doing out here?" He's like, "You should go JUCO." I'm like, "What's JUCO?" I didn't know. I didn't even know New Mexico Military was a junior college when it was right down south. Like I just had no knowledge of this stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
grew up, like my mom didn't know, like no one knew. Like I didn't know I could get into college with a GED. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
So, he started telling me, he's like, in Arizona they got some junior colleges. And so like it kind of just got stuck in my head. Then I go home, I start doing some research, like, looking up like Mesa Community College, Glendale, Scottsdale Community College, and that whole conference. Um, but mind you, at the time, I'm kind of like running the streets and playing semi-pro football. Like I'm not in any sort of shape. Like I was just going out there like off a night of like drinking and doing all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff and then playing a game. Like I wasn't in no real football player shape and I wasn't playing against no real talent. So, you know, I probably got up to Arizona at like 160, 165 pounds, like trying to play safety. You know what I mean? So my development probably took a little bit. So then I ended up enrolling at Phoenix College, and I actually had to go to a tryout. Like I emailed the coach my stuff, and he was like, "Hey, come to this tryout." Um, so I trained for like 6 weeks in Albuquerque at this facility. Like I had my mom gave me some money to like pay this guy to like just work on like 40 and this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So ended up like actually getting in some good shape in 6 weeks, and like went to the tryout. Like there's 200 people there. At the time, like Arizona JUCOs had
For a
a lot of
JUCO?
people wanting to go out there. Yeah, like because it
Dang.
was in the city.
Wow.
You would get a lot of
Oh my
people. They
God.
had like 200 people at this tryout, and like soon as I ran my 40, the coach was like asked me my name because I really just trained for that. Like I didn't train like a lot of football type stuff. I just worked on my start and being explosive because I knew that would kind of get me a look. So that coach asked me my name. Ended up having a good trial, having like a pick and one-on-ones and some other stuff. So then we were waiting like by a door, like in this hallway. It was like 200 people waiting, and like the coach walks out. He pastes like this paper to the door, and it was like it only had like 18 names on it. Like it wasn't a lot. So like everyone's rushing up to it. You know what I mean? Like looking to see if their names on. Dudes getting pissed. Like walking out like mad, angry, and I'm like, I just waited for everybody to go. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because I was kind of like in my head, I'm like, if I don't make this junior college team, like I needed to do something else probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I go look up at the piece of paper and like my name was on the paper, and I was just like, damn, okay. Like then I had to go to this meeting with the coach. He kind of gave us a whole breakdown and whatever, but ended up playing there for 1 year. I actually ended up like not even playing in any games. I just practiced and kind of like was trying to save eligibility and just kind of like develop a little bit. So like I just used a little redshirt year. Like I was like the 3 on the depth chart. Like I just
Yeah.
I wasn't built out yet how I was supposed to, and I was still trying to play defense at the time.
That's what I was
So
gonna say. You're still
yeah,
playing
I was still
defense.
playing defense, and they had put me at like an outside linebacker, and I was doing linebacker drills. I'm probably like 180, 185. Just just out there kind of getting roughed up a little bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think you just kind of stick with it if you love it. And obviously playing in New Mexico, growing up, the speed is a little bit different. The competition level is a little bit different. So adapting to playing with a bunch of dudes who've been there, kind of done that, and like I will say, like people get junior college messed up, like because you'll go to a junior college practice and you'll see better talent than you see at a lot of Division I schools, but these dudes just have something wrong with them, whatever it is. So end up I was struggling at the time living there because I had like an apartment. I was trying to work a job at a bar, and it was just it was a lot, man. Like it was non-scholarship JUCO, so like food, everything's on you, and you know
Was that
doing that like
Arizona
for a
setup?
year. Yeah,
It's
yeah. So
just
it's
like Cali in
non-scholarship.
that sense.
It's basically just like Cali, yeah. But
I
at the
got you.
time, it
Okay.
was
Okay.
cheaper to live in Arizona, so it wasn't that extreme. But it
Yeah.
was tough, man. Like you eating ramen and chicken nuggets, and you just trying to kind of get by, and it's not that hard when you're that young. You don't need a lot, Like my apartment at the time was like $330 a month or something crazy like that. So, which is insane. You can't even find anything. You can't even find a room for that. But yeah, ended up like kind of staying that whole year. In the spring, I started getting some offers, and I knew I had to graduate with an associate's degree to even think of going back, like going anywhere, like a university, like D1, D2. And I was just kind of struggling in class. Like I had probably like 18 credits, and then I had like some NAIA schools coming in, like just like throwing some money at me, trying to get me, and I ended up just kind of like feeling like I was done with the lifestyle of like struggling, like working and then going to practice and going to class. Like I didn't want to do that for another year. And like after that spring ball, like I felt like I did enough to kind of be like the one, or at least in the mix to be the one. And I was kind of just like in that two role, like, so I probably felt some type of way because I actually at that point was really working my ass off. Like end of spring ball, like I had like the third fastest 40 on the whole team. Like I ran like a 4.45 flat, but there was only like two other dudes in the high 4.4s. Like,
Yeah.
so, I trained hard. I did everything. Like I benched like 225, like 13, 14 times into the spring. Like I was probably like up to like 190, 195. I was solid, grinding, but just, how it goes. Sometimes you get some guys that they're a little more political towards and stuff like that. So didn't get a lot of opportunity there, but yeah, I ended up signing to Southwestern, and I'm still playing defense at the time, honestly, which is crazy. Like I don't know why I didn't try and make a switch earlier, because I wasn't great in pass coverage. I think that looking back, like that's something I could say, like I could fit the run, but I just wasn't. I didn't have the hips to be like a cover guy. So
Yeah.
I'm at Southwestern. That first year I started like 4 games or so, ended up getting hurt, tearing my meniscus. Didn't run track that spring. Then the next year I'm playing defense still and get hurt again. I had like 2 concussions in like a short span. So like I missed probably like 4 games that year too,
Yeah.
And then I was returning some punts that year. And no, I was returning punts my first year there, right before I got hurt and tore my meniscus. And there's my DB coach. He's actually been at Hutchinson for years. Like he's been at Hutch for years. He's a good coach. Name's Andy Kraus. He kind of told me, he was like, man, like don't take this the wrong way, but you move a little bit better forward than you do backwards. Like you might be a better receiver, like seeing how you are with your hands at return and stuff like that. Like you're fast, And I kind of like was, I struggled up, man, I just been playing defense so long. So, end up barely moving to receiver my last year, and it was fresh off a track season. So I kind of did like ran track, then went right into fall as a receiver. And so one spring, one fall in college as a receiver. That's all I did. So
Yeah.
even like when we went to the Horsemen, and then I got hurt the first game of my senior year playing Missouri State, returning a kick. So then I missed my whole senior year, which technically was my junior year. I had a whole nother year of eligibility, but I was just kind of so sick of. I just had injuries. Like every year it was
Yeah.
something. Like I couldn't catch a break. Like, and I felt like I was finding a groove at receiver. Like I was like, I'm actually kind of fast. Like people can't catch me, so I could, so I got hurt my senior year. I ended up just going right to track and kind of just training for track. And then honestly, like my track coach at Southwestern, he's a great coach. Like he coached for like 30 years, won like 15 or 16 consecutive conference championships. Like, and I was just a football guy who ran track. Like, he kind of saw me running gassers one day, and I was just kind of like in the front, and he asked me like, you should run track. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, man, I ain't running no track. He saw me as a quarter miler. Like I was like, man, I ain't no quarter miler.
Oh.
But one thing about the quarter mile I could say is if you train for it and you do that type of training, it just like calluses your mind, bro. Like you just kind of turn into like a machine. Like, so, just those 2 years doing that. And my first year I wasn't good. My first year I wasn't good at all. Like I couldn't even crack like top 8 in the conference in the 4. Like I wasn't in no finals. I wasn't scoring points for the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then
Did you
my
run track
last
in
year,
high school at all?
no, my freshman year, that was it. I didn't even
So,
run like
so
that.
all back into this, back all the way back in high school, you're trying to play ball, going through all that. You train just for your 40, so you don't even have a background in track. You're training for your
No,
40 for that tryout, and that ends up being your big ticket item. But still,
yeah,
no track background. It's
no
crazy. All right,
track
keep going, keep
background,
going.
no track background. So, yeah, end up like running the 4 my senior year, running on the 4x1 and some other relays. Like End up being an all conference in the quarter mile, all conference in some relays. We were like second in the conference in the distance medley relay, so I had to run a relay with like the distance medley is like a mile, an 800, a 400, and then like a 3200, all in the same race. It's an indoor thing, but yeah, that was cool to like run with the distance guys and like accomplish something with a group of guys that normally I probably wouldn't have been around. And I still talk to some of those guys whenever I get a chance. So that was cool. But yeah, track, like my coach was the man. Like he used to just give you talks out there on the track, and it was more solo talks because I was kind of like the only male 400 runner. I had like a young guy with me who wouldn't show up to practice, but I just took the coach real well and like would ask him questions, and he spoke a lot of life into me that I felt like my football coaches maybe at the time there weren't doing, like when the new staff came in. But yeah, he just built the confidence in me, honestly. Like, and even though I wasn't his best quarter miler he ever had, like he for sure made me feel like it. You know what I mean? And I appreciate him for that. And just how far I went in 2 years, and I got like fifth in the conference my senior year, scored some points at both conference meets, but I didn't medal, but I was up on the podium, and I think for that it was cool to see the progress in 2 years. But I kind of took that spring and ended up going to some tryouts, and obviously if you're fast you'll kind of get a look. And
Yeah.
I went to a tryout in Florida. I went to a tryout in St. Louis. That was like an indoor football tryout. It's like a combine. I had the fastest 40 there, and it was like a 4.48 official though.
Yeah.
Like I was training. Like I was my speed was on point. Like I had the
No more
drive
chicken
phase
nuggets
down.
now.
Like was just taking all the knowledge I learned. So even at this point though, I felt like I was kind of just fast. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I still needed to control my routes a little bit. I was just kind of like a good athlete. I was 22. I was still young. I feel like I was just making a breakthrough. I probably should have went back and played my last year of eligibility to like get some film at receiver is what I really should have did. Cause like, I'm going to these tryouts and I don't really have any film. Like I have like hardly any film. I played 1.5 games my senior year. Like I came back to play senior day and they bandaged me up, but I only had like 3 catches, like I didn't have any film. So it
Yeah.
was kind of hard to convince someone to take a shot on me. But I ended up going to like Columbus Lions mini camp. They had like a 3-day mini camp. Went down there, actually did pretty well. Like I got some film because they filmed it, and even though we were just in t-shirt and shorts, but I won like a lot of reps in one-on-ones. Like the coach was kind of taking to me, like they were cutting people every day. I made it to the 3rd day. Ended up kind of getting the opportunity to like really make a play, like in a crunch time. Like the coach even put me in position. Coach Gibson, he's the head coach of the Jacksonville Sharks now, but
Yeah.
he like told me I want to see him on film, and probably because I was fast. Like that was it. Like let me see if this dude can, And I remember running this curl, turning, and like I go up for the ball and it was kind of high, dropped it, and it was just kind of like at that moment, like you kind of know, like I just missed the opportunity. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
end up getting told like keep working, whatever. Like we'll give you a call to BS, even though it never
Yeah.
came. But he said something like at that tryout, kind of like at the end of that day, like just kind of like letting guys know, like you got to believe in yourself no matter what, even if you don't make it from this one. Like you got to believe in yourself. And at the time I'm still young, so I'm like thinking I have a chance, but end up kind of just like going through trying to reach out to people, and ended up stumbling upon Chris and the Horseman and what he was doing. And then I got plugged in from the guy who I did the combine with, and he put in a word with Chris, and then I ended up getting signed. So that was like really my my first real opportunity, you know what I mean? Like it was for probably you two and quite a
Yeah.
few of us others. And obviously we know kind of how that season went, and that was special. We were able to go 13-0, win a ring, and I think everybody was able to get solid film and make a good highlight tape, which is what we all kind of were there for, on top of the relationships we built, and just being a part of a 13-0 championship team, like at any level. I think that's special, and I always look back at that and I'm grateful for the experience. But, even then too, I felt like I was wasn't like as good of a route runner as I am now in my older age, because I was still kind of learning the position. But,
Yeah.
I was able to get enough film to get signed by the sugar schools, so that was good. That next year I was able to do that and move on up. And actually that was kind of right when I started my junior college coaching career, was right after that season with the Horsemen.
Yeah.
I got involved with the Gila River thing and the Hohokam Junior College Athletic Conference. And Coach Felker, who's a legend in the Arizona League from Mesa Community College, was able to send hundreds of kids Division I and, do all that stuff. So I was able to start coaching at that point and, kind of giving back to the kids, while I was still kind of chasing mine, which was cool. And, kind of knew that coaching was for me, even though I coached high school the 2 years. So in 2017, this is a cool story too. So that coach that I told you kind of saved me in high school.
Yeah.
My first year out of college, that fall, I moved back to Albuquerque. I ended up coaching for him. He had just got a head coaching job at Highland High School in Albuquerque. And I went back really solely to coach for him because I felt like, not that I owed it to him, but like I just, like he did so much for me, like just pulling me out of a dark place. Like, so I think like a lot of my style of coaching is kind of came from that, like seeing, being able to recognize when a kid is kind of going through a hard time and be able to kind of pull them aside and have those conversations. But yeah, so I ended up going back and coaching for him. That was my first year coaching, and then coached high school that next year. And then it was the next year was the year with the Horsemen. And that next fall was my first fall coaching junior college. And then did that for 2 years there. We won 2 conference championships, didn't lose a game, was able to send a few kids D1, D2, NAI, get kids opportunities, which is really, the best thing. But all at that time, I was still kind of playing too, which is crazy. So like 2020, pulled my hamstring with the Sugar Skulls. They canceled the season because of the COVID anyway, so it didn't matter. 2021, I had an agent at this point. Like I had this dude. He was like a legit agent. He was Martavis Bryant's agent, and I don't know. He just kind of like liked me, but
Yeah.
he was putting me in front of people. Like he got me opportunities. Like a lot of people wonder how I got more opportunities after kind of like the Horsemen. It
Yeah.
was just because this guy saw something in me to kind of put me in some positions. So like he ended up trying to get me signed by the Massachusetts Pirates, the Philadelphia Soul, but I was like working at the time. It just wasn't lining up, and I just wasn't down to leave. But in 21, I had just got the head coaching job at Salt River to
Yeah.
take over a program because Felker and them had went to Garden City. And he had called me, the agent guy called me, right? And he said, "Hey, I got you a contract with the Duke City Gladiators." He's like, "Just go out there for a couple days." He's like, "Just to keep your resume up to date." Like he didn't even like intend on me playing a game. He was like, "If you're not going to play this year though, you just need to go do this for 2 days." So I ended up listening to him and going for 2 days, which was a waste of time because I had a teaching job. Like I had no intention of playing. I just went because this agent told me like you need to go just so you keep your resume up to date, and it really made no sense. But I ended up going, and then I was playing semi-pro in Arizona just to kind of stay in shape. Then I ended up being the head coach of Salt River that fall, and I think that was such a great experience for me, just to be able to lead a group of guys at a young age. But I think they took to me really well, which was awesome. And obviously, like I tried to do a lot for those kids. I took Sean up to Weber on the visit when you were there, and you helped me with doing some of that stuff there. And I just tried to treat all those kids like that. You know what I mean? Like just be that coach that probably I might not have had at certain points in my life, but I did have
Yeah,
at
for
other
sure.
points. And just show them you care. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, and even with my group right now, like just showing them that I care about them. I think that's, as a coach, some guys get lost in the X's and O's, and some guys get lost in this kid can't do this kid can't do that. But when you just like show that you believe in someone, you'll be surprised at what they could do. You know what I mean? So I think for me as a coach, that's been big. But yeah, I ended up, having a successful season, turning an 0-9 program into 6-3. sent a lot of kids to, ended up having a couple kids with D1 offers and having opportunities to do that. Kids go to powerhouse Division II schools and stuff like that. So, I was always on Twitter messaging coaches, trying to build connections and just really selling out for the guys. Cause like, I just felt like I owed it, like not to them like personally, but I just like owed it to the community, like whatever football community I'm in, I have to like give it all, So I was a teacher
Yeah.
at the time, a K-8 PE teacher. I'd be at work like on Twitter sending messages like and doing my job at the same time. I was just kind of like a machine at that point. And I'm still training. Like I'm training all these kids, all these guys at the APE facility in Arizona. I was just so busy. Like there's just so much going on at this time, but I'm still working out to play. I'm training kids to have them go to college. I'm coaching kids. I'm the offensive coordinator. I'm coaching the receivers. I was drained,
Yeah.
but it was worth all of it because, I think too I realized like I gave a lot of my time to those kids and like time that normally a coach probably wouldn't give, and I think that was the big reason why we had success. Like my first year as a head coach was not because I knew what I was doing. By any
Yeah.
means did I know what I was doing, but I just showed love, showed the kids I cared, tried to do the best I could, and they always played hard for me. They played hard for each other. They didn't question, the situation. We was practicing on a terrible practice surface, but those kids showed up every day because I had a healthy football environment. So that was great, and I learned a lot from that experience. I learned a lot of what not to do, um, and it's funny because I actually did get a call from Garden City right before the 21 season, asking me to go out there like in July, like end of July, and I was already like did summer camp with these kids at Salt River. Like felt like I had a good team, recruited this team.
Yeah.
I just owed it to them, so I didn't go. I just didn't go that first year. I said, I got to stay with them for this year. Like if the opportunity comes back around in December, like that's different. So I ended up having a successful year with those guys, sending some guys to some good schools, guys graduating, getting degrees now, a couple years down the road, which is great. A couple of them still playing and, other guys still chasing it. And, it's great to see. So like I've had, guys, move up to professional and stuff like that too, which is awesome to see. But, you know, like that group of kids really meant a lot to me. It was hard to leave them. And then, I get the call kind of from Garden City to, at the time I interviewed for the head strength and conditioning coach job.
Yeah.
And during those years from 2017 to 2022, I was training. Like I was doing a lot of training. Building up a resume, was able to learn from Maurice Green, who was the fastest man in the world. That's part of the other reason I probably learned some stuff too. Got to learn under him for a little bit and was able to do some great things. And then my boss, obviously, at A, Larry Graham, was a big part of helping me get to where I needed to get. He put me in like a lot of leadership roles, like we would go to the high school down the road and run sessions, and he would teach me how to control a room. He would teach me how to have a voice, and those things were real important. But ended up getting interviewed for the head strength coach job at Garden City, and I was prepared for the interview for sure. I at that point, I think I was myself, and it just flowed kind of really well. And did a in-person interview with a panel, like 12 people sitting around, and
Yeah.
just kind of was myself, honestly, and ended up getting the job. And they had intentions. The football coaches, they were gonna let me coach football, but this is how they were getting me a full-time position.
Yeah.
So I had to, when I got there to Garden City. And mind you, like me and my now wife had bought a house there in Arizona. So
Yeah.
she stayed in Arizona while I went to Garden City. Basically was back and forth for, almost 2 years, which is crazy to think about. But so I get to Garden City February of 2022. Recruited some guys. We didn't have a great season, but during this time I'm the head strength coach, so I'm running the whole show of every sport.
Yeah.
So that was a lot on top of being the receivers coach. So, I just had a lot of responsibility there, which was good. Did that for 2 years. Our head coach ended up getting let go um, after this last season, and you could kind of see it kind of potentially happening just because we recruited a lot of talent. Like I had the number one wide receiver room in the country last year in junior college. It wasn't even close. I had 5-star Vaughn Van Dame. I had a couple 4-stars, a couple 3-stars, and all sorts of talent. But at the end of the day, it really didn't mean anything because we didn't mesh. Like that kind of goes back to what I said earlier about like our team just meshed for the Horsemen, and that's why we were successful.
Yeah.
Like you can have a real talented group, but sometimes it don't mesh, and I kind of learned my lesson with that. But not that those guys were bad individuals, but like together, if you have too many of those people who want the ball and they're not getting it, and then it just it's football, it can become cancerous and stuff like that. The guys have to mesh and believe in each other. There can't be doubt. It's a team sport at the end of the day. So I think that was the reason for a lot of our for a lot of us not having success last year. But yeah, so head coach ends up getting fired, and I actually ended up getting interviewed for the head coaching job, even though I kind of knew we weren't going to get the job. And I wasn't worried because I had a job still at the school.
Yeah.
As the head strength coach, I just knew I was going to lose my football money, which really wasn't a lot. But yeah, so he ended up getting fired. I get interviewed for the job, don't get it. New guy comes in. You kind of see the writing on the wall of like, the place is going through a transition. I'm not going to stay in the middle of nowhere in Garden City, Kansas. It's kind of time to part ways. And I was about to get married in January. Knew I wasn't moving my wife out there just to be the head strength coach. And it was just time to go. Like I wanted to coach football, and I was throwing my name in the hat for a couple other college jobs, junior college head coaching jobs. So I actually ended up having 3 interviews this last off season, which didn't get any of the jobs, but it was cool to just
The
to
experience, at least.
interview. Yeah, like I know what questions they're asking. I kind of know what they're looking for. I mean, you ask them for feedback and stuff like that. So I got interviewed for Garden City, Ellsworth, and then Minnesota West. So all junior colleges. So, it was cool just to get, interviewed for head coaching jobs, and not that I'm necessarily obviously ready for that again. But, I always, try and throw my name in the hat for a situation I feel like I could have a shot. Just because I have been a head coach before, so I kind of somewhat know what it entails. And, I think after this experience here with Coach Stroh, who's, the best to do it at this level, I think I might be able to, throw my name in some hats again down the road. But, so I ended up leaving Garden City, and then, man, it was kind of rough for a little bit. I almost got a job at Austin P. I almost got like some other jobs, and, I actually put my name in for a couple high school head coaching jobs and didn't even like get interviewed for it, which was kind of strange, I thought.
Yeah.
But, still a young coach, you know what I mean? Like, I think at the end of the day, like I've been coaching since 2017, but, that's still not that long, even though I've had some good experiences, been some places like, as well as anyone, you kind of gotta, you gotta have skin in the game before you get those opportunities to maybe get the chair or even be a coordinator. And, obviously at every level you go up, you realize how complicated it really is and how much work it really is, so I think as far as the junior college level goes, though, I've been in it long enough to kind of understand the ins and the outs. And so I kind of got put on to Iowa Western, and obviously now at this point I've kind of climbed from an Arizona non-scholarship to, a good scholarship, JUCO in Garden City. And I did play 2 seasons in Garden City with the Southwest Kansas Storm. So at this time I'm still playing too, which is insane. And that was probably, that probably when I was really developed, I think. Like that season in 22, I only played 4 games, but I had, some good stats for 4 games. I had like 3 touchdowns off 12 or 13 catches, but like I had some big catches, like I had a pretty solid year for 4 games. I got hurt my foot and ended up missing the rest of the season, but that was their best season that they've had up until this point. So that was fun to be a part of. But yeah, so end up getting out here, getting an opportunity here at Iowa Western, and I'm grateful to be here. I've been here since beginning of March and went through spring ball, and now we're going through summer camp, and still have the opportunity to help a little bit with the conditioning and doing the run and stuff like that. So coaching the receivers as well, and been able to bring in some good players that can help us, and hopefully we'll make another run. That's kind of the goal right now. But it was a blessing to even be put in this position because obviously you don't get coaching jobs off of filling out applications. You kind of get coaching jobs off who you know and people putting in a
Yeah.
word for you. So Iowa Western had their receivers coach job open for a while, like since very end of the season, actually middle of the season, because the guy ended up having to leave for some personal reasons. So he didn't even finish the season with them last year. They just went without a receivers coach. So then I don't get hired till March. So they even went through the whole convention interviewing people and kind of just, didn't find a guy, I guess. And then my head coach from Garden City was real good friends with Coach Stroh, who's the head coach here at Iowa Western, and put in a word. And then the DB coach here at Iowa Western, who actually just took a job at Cincinnati as a QC and safeties coach. He knew my DC from Salt River. They played high school together. So he
Oh,
asked my
dang.
boy about me, and it was like two good references. So then they were like, okay, like this is the guy, and then obviously they had caught word of like what I was doing at Garden with the strength and conditioning, and probably just doing some good things in that aspect, being able to recruit, and because that's our lifeline too as coaches. If you can't recruit, you're kind of useless at the same time. So during that time of just being in junior college, I was able to build good connections and random places. Where
Yeah.
Rashad's from in Miami. I've had a few kids from Miami Northwestern, Miami Central, that
Doesn't
whole little
matter.
circuit. And he
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
put me onto it. He's like, "Hey, Vaughn, you need to go down there and find some kids." And Rashad was a good player too. He had the joystick,
yeah,
so I'm
for
like,
sure. He
"Yeah,
had the
these
wiggle,
kids down
man.
here got to be able to make people
Yeah.
miss." So you know, end up going down there a lot, and that's where Sean was from, and some other guys that I've had. So yeah, it's been cool, man, and just looking back at all the kids I've been able to help in such a really a short time now that I say it, in this kind of timeline. But,
Yeah.
you know, being a guy who was in junior college 10 years ago to now being, a coach at one of the top junior colleges in the country, seeing where my journey was, GED, not graduating and going the JUCO route at the time. And it's thinking it's the worst thing ever, now on the back end and where I'm at, like everything that happened to me, I think makes me the coach I am, and the just having the ability to do what I've done. I think like, and not as like saying I'm the greatest coach ever. I know everything. I know all these drills, and no, like I'm not. I'm not that.
Yeah.
But I feel like by being a good person and just striving to be the best, and giving the guys my time and putting my time in on the film and all that type of stuff, like giving effort, at the end of the day, that's what matters, and that's what they'll see. They're not going to
Yeah.
see, oh, he's got the best drills in the world, or he's doing this, he's doing that. They're going to know that coach cared about him. So for
Yeah.
me, that's the biggest thing, and I'll continue to do that. And I'm glad to be around coaches who feel the same way, and like seeing Coach Stroh these last few months, like he's back to back national champ. Like he's built this program at Iowa Western, and he's a great coach. He's a great leader, and he kind of lets his coaches coach, and I think that's awesome. So I'm excited to be here and see what we could do this year, and hopefully win a national championship, because for me that would be super special just to kind of even be there. Honestly, like everything I've been through
Yeah.
to this point, like it's just a great opportunity even at this level to do that. So
No, 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 that
no
makes
doubt.
complete sense. And I mean, I think that's the cool thing, and that's kind of part of the reason I even started this whole Sojo, sports our journey onward, because I think if you look back, not enough people look back at where sports really got them. You talk about your high school experience and, hanging out with the wrong crowd and doing things that now you look back at and you're like, dang, why was I doing that? But at the
Right.
same time, sports ended up being the gateway that still got you somewhere. Like you didn't
Yeah.
end up following that path long term. That it
No
was those
doubt.
connections through sports. Some guy on the chain gang. Like that's crazy to think about that. That kind of
Just pass some information on to me. You know.
just starts that information that you jump on the internet, start searching, go JUCO, and it's a cool experience, and I love that you're still in JUCO. I mean, you're a guy that went through JUCO, it's still in JUCO, and you're helping out these kids because to your point, like these are legit athletes. It just maybe it was grades, maybe it was something, just mistakes that they made. They're there for a
Right.
reason. It's not that they're bad people by any means.
No.
JUCO is a chance for them to get things figured out so they can hopefully do in a sense what you're doing. Like you've used
Yeah.
it as a platform to get somewhere else. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, you brought it up when you were over there in Arizona training that you got to work with Maurice Green,
Yeah.
and how'd that all start? How'd you meet him? How'd you get introduced to him?
So one of my bosses, like we had like kind of like this guy who worked at the gym. He's this older guy from Denver. He knew someone who knew someone who knew Maurice, and then he just brought him into the gym. And at the time, Maurice wasn't really doing much, kind of trying to look to get into coaching himself, and pass on his knowledge that he had. And
Yeah,
yeah, just kind of like ended up running a speed program with him for like 2-3 months, and about 3 nights a week and stuff like that, and just kind of watching him coach and watching him teach, and obviously helping him coach and teach, and picking up things from him, because at that time I was still kind of like chasing mine at the same time. So like I learned a lot of running techniques from him that I would go practice by myself and apply, and that I still teach right now, cues and stuff like that. So that was great. But even at that time, I'm training Jerry Rice's son. I ended up stumbling upon training Jerry Rice's son, which was crazy too, like seeing him get
yeah,
drafted this year, and him being a kid who's honestly self-made. A lot of people wouldn't know that, but he's really done what he's done, and worked for his, even though the name on the back of his jersey obviously holds some weight, but he's somebody I'm proud of for kind of paving their own path, and being able to overcome the pressures of being that guy,
yeah,
like. And I've worked with a few guys like that. I worked with Andre Rison. I don't know if you remember him from the Falcons back in the 90s. He's the dude who got in a fight with Deion Sanders. I trained his son
yeah.
too, Hunter Rison, and he's still chasing his. He was in the USFL last year, and
Very
still
cool,
playing
very
ball
cool.
and stuff like that. But yeah, like just those types of guys, and had quite a few others, and underdog guys who had great stories, and
Yeah,
being able to turn the TV on Saturdays and watch a bunch of guys, on the TV that I've either trained or coached or, helped out in some way is just super awesome. I think that's the best gift for me right now is, cause the it just keeps building every year. It's like more and more every year, like I got 5 or 6 last year that went Division 1 that are going to be playing on Saturdays. And I just told the story to my group yesterday about, one of my guys who was in JUCO for 3 years, and, went through a lot of adversity and overcame all of it, and kind of was a nobody coming out of high school. Not a nobody, but he didn't have any Division 1 offers, didn't have grades, and just
yeah,
you know from inner city Atlanta, just kind of needed JUCO for a second chance. So yeah, 3 years in, and wasn't getting a lot of opportunity. Wasn't even my starter for a lot of the year, and just ended up flashing, having a couple big plays that got recognized by coaches. And his first offer was actually Southern Miss, so he got a Group of 5 offer before anything. And when that coach called me, like, "Hey, coach, should I pull on this kid?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "This kid has fought through everything: injury, missing a year, grades, family stuff at home, whatever, just to kind of get to this point." Like, I'm like, "Coach, you a smart guy if you get in first." So he ended up getting some other offers like Austin P, Utah Tech, and some others, and I felt like I pushed him to choose Southern Miss a little bit. Even he made his own decision, but I
yeah,
told him, like, I think it's special that guy offered you first.
yeah,
Like, for a guy like you who people ain't really believed in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that means something. Like, to me, that means something. As a
yeah,
coach, like, I'm gonna protect that coach because he was the first one to come in. And it's high level. Like, you're looking at the schedule, they play Ohio State week 1. So,
Yeah.
Ohio State at Ohio State. So you think of things like that for a kid like that, an opportunity to go do that. Like, I'm going to be locked in and glued to the TV when that day comes. So, just stories like that, man. And, even another kid I had he's at Valdosta State right now. He was actually Sean's friend, and that's how I ended up getting him. And
Mm.
I get this kid, he's got a .3 GPA, been to 2 schools, like, like no one should touch him. But Sean's like, he's
Yeah.
my boy, coach. He can play, and I think he didn't seem like a bad kid, just obviously not a great student. But, bringing him in, and he had 6 college credits off 2 semesters. Like, that's terrible. Like, you're not getting no financial aid. You got to work to even get back to get any of that. Like, we can't put you on scholarship because you're all, ended up, him being able to graduate and go Division II. And, he's at Valdosta State now. So he graduated with an associate's degree. That's a kid who probably wouldn't have done anything if,
Yeah.
in my opinion, because who else was going to touch him, So
Hmm.
just being able to help kids in that sense and help them kind of resurface their dreams and vision, and, put them in a position to succeed. I think that's the key, and I think that's my purpose. I feel like God puts you in positions to help people, and, a lot of people are chasing money, but I feel like I'm chasing purpose. So for me, it's about that, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think it'll continue to be about that. Even if I get to a point, obviously, where I'm getting a lot of money to do it, I think it will still always be about that. I don't think it'll ever change for me.
No, and I love hearing that because I won't say any names, but I got to listen to a national champion coach talk about how he coached some of his prior teams and how he ran things. And I won't lie, sitting there, it was really off-putting to me because how you talk about your players, your relationships, like you can tell you care for these guys. You're
Yeah,
there, you're caring for them, you back them. And the way he talked about it was just like, hey, these guys don't need friends. They don't need you to be their friend. They need you to do all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, I know you'd go back to any of your players and they're like, no, that like coach was there for me. He was my guy. He was my friend. Like, and you build those relationships. Like, you still have those relationships with those guys long after. And it didn't seem like that was the same mindset. That it was the same military mindset that a lot of the old coaches have. And so I was going to shoot you the question. I mean, going through JUCO, where it's the weirdest position because JUCO is the only place where nobody wants to be on that team per se. Like, they all want to
yeah,
get off the team. You're trying to
yeah,
take a whole group of kids and say, "Hey, become a team," when no
yeah,
one wants to be there, right?
no doubt.
So how have you seen just throughout your years, like how have you seen coaching change, and how have you tried to implement some of the things you've learned to help out with that?
I mean, I think it's tough as a young coach, and I think, like, for the older coaches, like, it's kind of the time where you either adapt or you're gonna die.
Yeah,
Like, the old school way is kind of like, it's got to be mixed in. You got to be demanding. Don't get it wrong by any means. I'm still demanding. I'm still
absolutely.
all those
Yeah,
things. But
absolutely.
if I don't have a relationship with a kid nowadays, it's hard to pull what I need to out of them when I do get on them. Because if you just yelling at a kid and you don't really know them or have a connection with them, then they're just gonna kind of disregard you. You know what I mean? Then it just becomes noise. So, I think the older coaches definitely got to adapt a little bit to kind of see, like, how kids have changed, because they have. I mean, just in some way, like, people say, oh, kids haven't changed, adults have. Like, I guess to an extent, but every generation is a little bit different no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
even me growing up 10 years ago compared to these dudes right now 10 years later, it's a little bit different.
Mhm.
Just with everything, like, everything's on the phone and the social media,
Well,
and
all the social media is crazy. I
the
mean,
NIL stuff, and how college
yeah,
football has changed. And but I think the best thing about JUCO is it's still the great equalizer. You know what I mean? Like, you still got to come here and earn what you're trying to get. So I think from that aspect, I do still enjoy that level. And it's kind of addicting. This level is, honestly, just for me. Like, I don't, and not selling myself short by any means, but, like, I really wouldn't mind, like, being a junior college head coach somewhere in a couple years. And then that's just kind of what I do, build a program for 10, 15 years. I don't know, like, I don't think that's
yeah.
something that I would hate doing, just because I enjoy this level. I enjoy helping these kids through this hard point in their life. Like, I did an internship at U of A last summer, and, being at a Power 5, it's like kind of eye opening. I'm like, well, these kids, like, they don't really need you like that. They just kind of,
Yeah.
like, it's, I don't know. It's just a little bit different, So for me, I think I'm just used to it. But yeah, I think, I try and take something from every coach I'm around, whether, it's, I'm learning something they do good or they do bad, or, I'm always trying to learn and get the next big thing. I'm always watching tape and listening to coaches speak. Like, I went to AFCA this 2 years ago, heard Dabo Swinney talk, heard, what's the coach for Houston now? I'm brain farting right now. He was at Tulane.
Oh.
He was a JUCO guy, though. I heard him speak. He was at Coffeyville and ended up, being a Division I assistant and kind of moving up that way. So it was cool to hear his story too. Like, he's a Power 5 head coach now, and he started off in junior college. So, but yeah, I mean, adapt or die for sure for the older guys.
No, definitely. I agree with that. Are you talking Willie Fritz? Is
Willie
that?
Fritz, yep,
Yeah.
JUCO guy, Coffeyville Community College.
Very cool. Very cool. No, yeah, I think it's the adapt, but to your point, even you brought up like social media and stuff, and um, like doing some more research on coaching and whatnot. I found a video that I really liked, and it just puts it all into perspective because when you were playing, you finished your game, you didn't walk into the locker room, pull up your phone, and instantly have like sports commentators talking about the game. You didn't see
100%.
highlights, on TikTok and whatnot of people already seeing things that you did or something bad that you did, you missed a tackle.
Right.
And so when you have these older coaches trying to tell players like, "Hey, you gotta get off social media, like this is bad," and like you can't relate. You're in a whole nother generation
Whole another generation, yeah.
with a whole nother generation even in between that. And so I think that brought up a good point when I was reading, looking more into that. Like it's a totally different generation that you're coaching right now.
Mm-hmm.
And how you go about handling that, how you go about helping these kids out with something that you don't know yourself it's kind of a crazy thought. Like how would you listen to someone that tried to tell you something that they've never done, they've never experienced? Like you're gonna roll your eyes at them for it.
Right.
But this is how you have coaches trying to go about it. So I was gonna shoot you too with playing because you this whole time if people didn't get the story, Vaughn's been playing arena ball all over the place. Like almost all the stops, Vaughn's consistently
Consistent.
consistently been playing consistently. But I was gonna ask you, as a coach, do you feel like that's been a benefit? Like that's been a big thing
I
to
think
go
that's
out,
the
kind of do stuff
only.
yourself, and then
I think that's the only reason I've stayed doing it, and especially with receiver, because like I said, I only played it for a short stint in college. So
yeah,
to be able to play professionally is something I really didn't even play until, I guess now 8 years ago. Like, I feel like I'm just now getting to the point where I'm like really like excelling, like, because like I can go out there and like I'm a better player right now than I was then, and it's not athletically at all. It's just mentally. Like, I can see it different. Like, from all the coaching and all the playing, like the game is slowed down so much, and I think that's to my biggest benefit. And I think that's why I do um, want to play one more year, my body permitting. Um, just because the groin kind of like was kind of a rough thing, and then you know, playing a game with the Barnstormers. Kurt Warner played there, and just kind of
yeah,
like some of
yeah,
that stuff. Is cool. So if my phone ring here in a couple months when free agency starts, I think I might as well um, do one more if I'm here. Might as well.
yeah,
So we'll see, but. Yeah, it's been definitely to my benefit, man. It's helped me stay young. I think it's helped me, especially with receivers, because I feel like you can't be a sloppy receivers coach. You can't be a sloppy DBs coach. Like O-line, D-line, like, and I'm not saying like, but you can't be a skinny dude coaching D-line either. Like, it's just kind of one of those things that like, like you can, don't get me wrong at all. Don't get me wrong at all. But, like for a receiver coach, you just you got to be able to demonstrate a little bit. You got to be able to move a little bit. You got to be able to kind of show them,
Yeah.
what you want, what you're demanding. So I think like that's to my benefit. I feel like I'm able to get buy-in from the kids based on that, and obviously I'll have to adapt the older I get because can't do it forever. But
Yeah.
I think that's definitely helped me out for sure.
No, that's a good point. I'd say usually on a team, if you look at it, the youngest coaches are like the DB coach and the receiver coach,
Yeah, no
usually.
doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
So, no, that's a good point. And you haven't lined up against anybody out there at practice? Haven't tried to put the
Nah,
moves on
not since
anyone?
I was at Garden City. I used to do a little bit at Garden City, but nah, I'll occasionally like run routes with the kids. Not really since I've been here. I'm just kind of to a point where I'm like way older now, and I just don't need as
Yeah.
much to train. Like I'll go run routes twice a week, um, like 8 weeks before the season, and that's kind of how I prepare. Like, and then I just train normally in the gym,
Yeah.
footwork and stuff like that. But I don't try and demand as much from my body as I probably did 5 years ago, training wise, just because it's how it gets when you get old. You can't just maintain lifting all that heavy weight all the time and
Yeah.
that type of stuff. So
No,
just
makes
trying
make
to
makes sense.
maintenance more.
So, in kind of your education background, because I know you went and obviously got your GED, and then you were just
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah. No, I got
stagnant
my
with it.
yeah. No, then I went to junior college. I didn't finish my associate's degree, so that's part of the reason I went to Southwestern was because the coach said all you need is 24 transferable, even though you have a GED. So I was like, oh, 24 transferable? Like I was at like 19 or something, and he was like, just take 2 classes in the summer. We'll give you X amount of money. It's a good deal. I went and visited the school, and I was just like, you know what? I might as well go.
Yeah.
And then I ended up having a coach I knew at New Mexico Highlands who I was talking to for a minute, and I just ended up kind of not really wanting to go there because it was back home, and I just didn't feel like being in New Mexico was a good thing for me. So I ended up, just going there and graduating with a bachelor's degree in physical performance and sports studies. So just kind of, was getting into what I wanted to do. I kind of always, I knew I wanted to work in sports in some aspects, I think, and training was always a great outlet for me once I got away from the people that I shouldn't have been around doing the things I shouldn't have been doing. So
Yeah.
I learned to deal with a lot of my stress and anger and frustration when I was young through training, and I'm able to put passion into that as well. And I think that's been the best thing these last years is I've been able to do both sides of it, and that's kind of unheard of for a lot of people. I've been able to be a strength and conditioning coach and a football coach at the
Yeah.
college level at the same time. So I think to that as well, I've grown so much. Just you know with all the sessions I've done, all the speeches I've given, and all the motivation. It's just a lot that goes into it. The demonstration and just it's kind of second nature at a certain point. So I'm definitely thankful for that.
No, I was gonna ask too. I mean, because obviously you went and got it in physical, and went the physical route, becoming a trainer and whatnot. With all of that, to your point, you've done that at college now. Like you could really go either way. You could go and be a coach, or you could go.
Yeah, no, for
So,
sure. And
I
and
mean,
I've
it's
had people tell me, "Oh, you just need to stop coaching football and be a strength coach," or
yeah,
you know, I just see like to me like I love training and I love what you can do with it, but I just feel like the platform and the vehicle of football is so much greater than that. And
yeah,
that's just my opinion. Like I've been in both. Like I obviously I can reach a lot of people through training, and that was part of the definitely the blessing at Garden City was able to work with like all the sports. Like I worked with a lot of people. Like one of the basketball players from my first semester at Garden City just got drafted by the Lakers. Like, so I've seen a lot of like athletes in general
yeah,
move on, like female athletes, male athletes, whatever, because I got to work with every sport, which was cool. And I got to work with people from all over the world and, soccer teams from Ecuador and Brazil and all these different places and, language barriers, all that type of thing. So
yeah.
it's
No,
exposed me
see,
to a
that's cool.
lot and seeing how different teams kind of interact and working with different sports and, planning for different sports and that type of thing. And you could read all the books you want and do all the research you want, but until you're in it and you're in the mix and you're running the session, like it's just different too. So I think a lot of
Yeah.
young coaches need to know that too. Like you got to get reps to be good at it. Like that's the best thing for you. And like obviously sometimes when you're like a student assistant or a GA, like it's hard to kind of get put in those positions. So the best thing for young coaches is to actually get in a position where you can coach. Because that's how you learn, and it's trial and error. I'm still learning every day. Like I'm telling you, like there's sometimes I'm looking at stuff I did a couple years ago. I'm like, I don't know why I was doing that, and I'm changing it. How I teach things and stuff like that. But the
Yeah.
game's always changing too. Like
Yeah.
people aren't even training the same as they did 5 years ago. It's crazy, and I'm even kind of having to kind of adapt a little bit to it. But I'm also a little old school in some of my ways of doing some stuff too already. So we all
Yeah.
get stuck in our ways. So I think it's important to find new ways to grow and develop as coaches for sure. Because I still got a lot to learn. I don't know it all by any means. I'm still a scrub in the run game and all that type of stuff. So I got
Yeah.
to get better
No,
at that. And
but at the same time, I think looking at this too, you took a lot of steps that I think people are nervous or scared to take, and that is kind of what holds people back. Like you took a shot at being an OC over there at a junior college without,
yeah,
a ton of experience, honestly. If you
no,
were to tell
not at
someone
all.
that, and then you went and became a head coach of that program, which is crazy when you think about how much time you actually played ball, how much time you were had coaching, but it's
Yeah,
also it shows it's possible, like where the drive and the passion is, like you can make it happen. Because at the same time, any smart coach knows, like you don't know everything, and it's all about the people you surround yourself with.
100%,
The staff you put
100%.
together and bring together, like that's what makes a program
And that
great.
was part of my success. I had a great staff. Big shout out to those guys that year because I was a young head coach and none of them ever like questioned me or anything. And obviously I took a lot of their stuff into account. I had an older guy as my D line coach, man of God, big man of faith, and he kind of just helped keep me level headed a lot of the time. My DC was awesome. That was my dog. My assistant head coach, Coach Horn, he did a lot of things behind the scene for me. My O line guy, just a great staff of people that you know helped me build a program from nothing and build a successful program.
Yeah.
Just like I said, by caring about the kids, like my play calls, like that's probably honestly, I feel like we lost the conference that year because I think my play calling in the close games wasn't always, you know, looking back, like I think play calling is a lot harder than people think it is. Like
Yeah.
you could watch TV and be like, man, what kind of call was that? Whether like play calling is hard.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
don't know the situation. You're trying to prepare for a situation. Like you might have on the sheet my third and seconds, my third and longs, and what I might call, but until you're in that moment, the ball's on this hash, and you're trying to like, oh, I want to call this, but the ball's on this hash, and it's just there's a
Yo.
lot going on, man. It's not as
Yeah.
easy as people think to think that fast and call the play that fast as well with the play clock. So I learned a lot. I got a lot of respect for play callers now.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't
Oh
know
yeah.
if that's something that's for me. Honestly, I think I can do it to some degree, but I think as far as like the run game and the offensive line and the fronts go, I think I still have a lot to learn about that. Like I think the pass game and that type of stuff, I have enough knowledge of, but the trenches are a whole nother story. So I've been trying to develop a little bit. Actually the other day was thinking about going and sit in the offensive line meeting just to kind of, just sit in the back and be a fly on the wall and see what I
Yeah.
could pick up.
No.
Because
I
obviously I
mean,
think if you want to be a head coach, you got to know as much as you possibly can. So
yeah. No, and I think that's true. You got to know everything, but it's also that staff, and that's the one thing you bring up. If I could have every crazy fan just sit in the press box with an OC and a DC, and to hear why they're calling things and how they pre-call out what's going to happen, where the
mhm.
defense is going to roll to, like you would just be shocked that you can see an OC call the perfect play,
Mhm.
but it's just not executed by his team. He literally
Right.
say, "Hey, this is where they're gonna know defense rolls," and calls it all pre-snap, and you're just staring there like, "What just happened?" And sure enough, they do it all, and it's misses the block here, running back stepped the wrong way, quarterback throws the ball short, whatever it is, and then it's like, "Oh man, that was a stupid play. Why did we call that play?"
Crazy. Crazy.
It's a whole nother level.
I
I just
almost can't watch football with regular people because there's just so much they
a
don't
hundred
understand.
percent,
They don't
100%.
understand.
I
Like it gets
appreciate you
annoying.
saying that.
Like, you know what I
Hmm
mean? Like I'm just like,
It's hard to just sit and watch a game. Like I'll hear it with my old man, and he's going off on, oh, why are we running right down the middle again on another 3rd and 1? And I'm just sitting here, just biting my lip, biting my tongue, like, oh man, I can't. No, that's funny to hear. I feel the same way. It's
yeah,
and you look at it differently too, because I think a lot of people watch it in, in a sense of entertainment, and
yeah,
you're kind of watching it. Sure, like you want to see certain things, you're like, oh, that was cool, but it's also you have a lot more understanding of the strategy behind the game and like why they're doing certain things, and you're looking at little nuances, a receiver step, or like, oh, that was interesting how he kind of made a break
yeah,
there. Like, why do you do that? And so there's a lot more that you're thinking of than just, hey, first down.
100%.
So, no, I get that. I get that. It's cool there for sure. But last question I got for you, Vaughn. I wanted to ask you real quick some just rapid, I guess a couple just rapid questions to kind of help people out. So, got a list here. Let's pick out. Let's go with this one.
All right.
Because you've been in JUCO, and I think you probably experienced a lot of this. But what are your thoughts on the role of mental health in sports?
Man, it's honestly, I think it's pretty big. I think, that's why it's important to kind of like have those conversations with each kid at some point. Just pull them in to make sure they're fine. Like Brendan Rice. I don't know if you saw the guy who just passed away. He played with him at Colorado. The kid from Texas A&M Commerce. He ended up killing himself, committing suicide. But it was
Yeah,
Brendan's like best friend. And I remember they were on break from Colorado, and Brendan brought him to the gym, and I trained him. And like, you're just seeing the kid like this
yeah,
dude was laughing at everything. He was so high energy. Like, and I didn't know the kid. I trained him for one day.
yeah,
But even like kind of following him and Brendan's friendship like those years, and then just seeing that the kid ended up, kind of taking his own life is just, you gotta make sure even the ones who seem okay are okay. You know what I mean? Like these kids go through a lot. It's a lot of stress, and even dealing with not playing, or I'm on the bench, I'm not the guy getting the reps, like that can kill somebody's confidence. So like I think it's big to make sure everybody stays locked in, even when it's not their time, and just kind of help them through that. But yeah, man, it's big. I mean, I think even for coaches, it's huge. Like I went through a lot last year, just as far as when we got fired basically, and I didn't have a job for some months because I thought something was just going to happen right away. I almost got this job, almost got that job, feeling like I might be out of the mix. Like it might be over with. I might just try and figure out something else to do. Like maybe this isn't, in the cards right now, or I might have to take a year off, or, but I think in the back of my mind, I always knew that it was for me in some sense. Like I knew it. I think it was hardest to just have like the big platform I had taken from me,
yeah,
and then to just kind of not have anyone to work with, and like realizing that the kids really gave me energy and gave me life just being around them every day, because when you're so used to that, and then you don't have those relationships anymore, and it's kind of gone for some months. It was hard even for me at that point. So I think coaches too, and players for sure. I think mental health takes a toll on you in sports during the season, and it's a rough business for sure. So
no, I totally agree. I appreciate it. I actually heard a coach say recently he thinks the most important attribute or thing that a coach can have is just treat their athletes like people,
hundred
just
percent.
treat them like a people. So, okay. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good one. So, how do you stay motivated during setbacks or injuries?
Ooh, I mean that's tough because I mean for the injury thing, obviously just kind of went through one. Um, in March, pulling my groin, and it's funny because the guy called me, right, the head coach, general manager of the Omaha Beef, and this is a championship team. They went undefeated. Like, they ain't lost a game
Yeah,
now, and it's
they
like
won it. Yeah.
700 something days. So, championship program, historic program. They've been around for 20 years, and, great ownership group. So I hit him up when I first was coming out here to kind of let him know, like, I'm a local guy, whatever. It was right after their first game, so he called me that Monday. So I had ran routes in the morning with the quarterback coach at Iowa Western, just to kind of, because I was like, I'm staying ready just in case. Like I said, my 2 days a week, I got to run routes. So
Yeah.
I ran that morning. I went to lunch, kind of had a BS lunch in the calf, like fries and a burger. Dude calls me like when I get back to my office, and I'm like, hello. I answer the phone, I'm like, hello. This is the head coach, and he's like, hey, you can be at practice tonight. Like, receivers are messing up. Like, you come in, you win one-on-ones, you got a spot. Like, you come on a waiver today, you win one-on-ones, you got a spot. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. But I told him on the phone, I was like, man, I just ran this morning. Like, just ran routes this morning. He's like, man, ain't nobody trying to hear that. So it's like 1 o'clock, like practice is at like 8. I'm trying to kind of scramble to like prepare my body to go through an entire padded practice. Like, I'm jumping in the
Yeah.
mix, you know what I mean? Like, not really prepared, honestly, like, because I was already not really in great shape. I was just trying to run a couple days a week. And so I show up to practice, boom, we warm up, and he's like, kind of like, he's being live, like, somebody going home, like, because it was me and another receiver there. The dude was from, he had just got cut from the UFL, like Houston Gamblers or something. He ended up playing DN for him. He was like a bigger dude, but he told us both, like, you guys win one-on-ones, you got a job, like, someone's going home. So boom, first one-on-one. He had talked in the meeting how no one was winning on the post. I like the post. So I was like, okay, first one-on-one, I'm gonna run a post because I know how to win on the post. Like, they're not gonna think I'm fast because look at me. B, I can win on the post. Like, I'm just confident win on the post. So boom, I run in high motion, boom, kill this dude on the post, touchdown. Coach is kind of going crazy. Like, oh, new dude's doing what I'm asking. Boom, second rep, I run a dig, boom, kill the dude on the dig, catch. Then he's like, let me see one more, Vaughn. Boom, go in there. I run a sail route, so an out route. Like, high motion, dive the dude in, get out my break fast, boom, catch. Tommy's throwing me the ball, Tommy Armstrong, so he's, good
Yeah.
quarterback. So
Yeah.
I go 3 for 3 one-on-ones. Like, killed him, honestly. Like, it was too easy. Like, it was just hitting, you know what I mean? Boom, we get in the
Yeah.
team. I hadn't been drinking water. I run a hitch. Feel like just this pop, like, felt it like a big burst of heat, like right in my groin. And
Yeah.
I, like, soon as it happened, I was like, fuck. Like, I just knew it. Like, I was pissed because I'm like, I know it's because I just wasn't prepared. Like, I wasn't nourished. Like, I should have had a little bit more protein before this. Like, I just,
Yeah.
so yeah, like, just having that happen at that time. And they ended up keeping me for like 5 weeks, bro, just because of what I showed in that
Yeah.
short time. Like, I ended up practicing again, like, that next week and having a really good practice again, like scoring some touchdowns in team, and then just kind of tweaked it again. Like, it just, those soft tissue injuries are tough. And, I tried to rush it back, because that's me. I'm hard headed,
Hmm.
and hurt it again, hurt it worse. And, just battled it for a minute, and then, got a call from the Barnstormers, and my groin still wasn't 100 at all. Went up there and played, and, I played pretty good. I had it wrapped, and, but if I was still trying to run and beat on it, it wouldn't be good. But honestly, I feel like the older I've gotten, you just kind of learn how to deal with the injuries and the setbacks. I think life, you're always going to get setbacks. So something small as an injury now, like, it doesn't really bother me. I think it's inevitable if you're going to be playing the game, like, and everyone's got to understand that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Like, you play long enough, it's going to happen. I mean, that. So,
Yeah.
for me, I think this next year, I just want to be, the injury kind of made me learn, like, now in my older age, like, I have to be even more prepared, so I think that's something that even just in this last few months has taught me. So, I'm still learning as an older athlete, I guess. And I think that's part of what keeps me still kind of wanting to be in it, is just the ability to keep learning to pass it on to other people, and kind of knowing, like, mentally what it does to you. And you just kind of got to do what you can. Like I was still going to the gym and working around and, probably doing a little bit too much, trying to run too fast and whatnot. But, you just got to
Yeah.
try and stay locked in best as possible when the setbacks come. And, even with my job last year, that was a big setback, but I just, kept believing, kept fighting and showing up every day. I think that's the most important thing.
Do you feel like your background being a strength and conditioning coach and then having your own injuries, it helps you relate to your receivers that you can go and talk to them, you kind of know the process that you can help them out with it?
Oh, I think 100%. I mean, I kind of like know like what to do to kind of prevent these little things, like you got to you got to spend time on your body, man. And I
Yeah.
tell the receivers, like, it's harder when you get older. You got to take care of your Achilles. Like, you got to do these isometric holds on your tendons and stuff like that because, like, you get older, your body breaks down more, your tendons are weak. And, there's certain exercises that I feel like, are meat and potatoes exercises, but they're staples. As much like new stuff as they come out with, I still think there's certain exercises that, obviously nothing bulletproofs you, but those are the movements that I feel like have helped me. So, I pass that along to the guys for sure.
No, I think that's cool, especially that they have that resource in their room with their coach. That they can say, hey, like additionally outside of already doing strength coach over there at Iowa Western, like what more can I do? Like I never knew about bands when I was younger
Yeah.
being an athlete, like
No,
bands
yeah.
and resistance training and how huge that is. And then when I started learning more about it, I was like, true, bought a whole band set for my own house because I'm like, I want to
Yeah.
have this resource. So,
Because you
no.
can build an athlete, man. I don't really believe in like those people who say kind of like I've seen kids like little kids who were trash at 6 years old who just showed up for 5, 6, 7 years and every day, and it pays off, bro. Like I've seen kids that you weren't athletic at 6, 7 years old, and then 12, 13, they've just been at it for 7 years training, and they're just an animal now. So
Yeah.
I think athletes are built not really. Obviously everyone's got some natural athleticism or not, but you can definitely build from whatever point you're at.
Okay, so my last question for you is more kind of your own shout out, but as far as any actionable advice you have or lasting impression you have for anyone, someone that might be in your shoes right now in high school that's maybe messing up, doing things, or someone that maybe going into JUCO for the first time, like what's some advice that you could share with them?
I think just kind of tune out the negativity or tune out things that aren't really benefiting you in the right way. I think it's big to surround yourself with good people, and try to and be conscious of that and make sure you're not, you know, around people who don't have kind of the same type of visions as you either. Like it's hard to be an athlete and hang around a lot of non-athletes. Like honestly, I think that's something I learned. Um, I was probably still even in my early college days, probably hanging out with a little too many non-athletes that might have set me back a little bit. So just trying to surround yourself with like-minded people and obviously believe in yourself and never give up and chase your dream if that's what you want. I think that's the most important thing. And obviously, like everyone wants the end goal and the success at the end of the tunnel, but you can't get lost so much in the goal that you forget the journey and what you're going through. Because I think it's the journey that really is the more important part. Like when I look back, there's always like certain points in the journey that I just love. Like even though it was like a hard time or some adversity, like you look back like when you overcome those things and those are the things that like mean the most. So I think
Yeah,
people are too caught up in maybe the money or getting to a certain point, but the journey and the chase is part of it too, and that's some of the best part is chasing it. So
yeah.
I think
No,
a lot of people like if it's just that end goal and you get there, then there's nothing else. So I think it's important to focus on just the journey too.
it's cool. I totally agree. We're all about the journey, so that makes sense. Well, closing this up, you got any personal shout outs, anything you want to yell at anyone? Anyone helped you out along the way? Anything you want to say? Your last words, Vaughn?
Man, it's so many people that helped me along the way. It'd take me another 30 minutes to shout people out, but yeah, just I think for anyone, it's like you always look back at certain people who helped you along the journey to get where you're at, but those people definitely they know who they are and stuff like that. And, I'm really appreciative of it. And I just kind of want to be that for somebody else. So, you know, just keep helping people the best I can. And, like them people I talked about, they helped me out. So, I'm just doing my part and giving back. That's it.
I love that. I love that giving back. So, yeah, I appreciate you, Vaughn. Everybody listening to this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I mean, you can see the crazy journey that Vaughn's been on. He's been determined, the whole way, relentless, going through all of it. And the best part is just like these are the type of coaches that I love speaking with because you can see how they care. As a parent, as a coach myself, like hearing these things, like these are the type of people that you want your own son and daughter to be coached by, to have these experiences, and this is what sports can do. Go through hard times, whatnot, and it can put you out on the other end doing some really cool experiences, meeting some really cool people, and making a big impact, which I think is the biggest thing. So appreciate you, Vaughn.
Appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that, man.
Thank
Appreciate you, man. Good to see you, man.
No, it's
Keep doing
good to
your
see you. I
thing. I
appreciate
know
you,
we were
Vaughn.
probably on here a little bit too long. Was it an hour
No,
and a half?
no, you're good. You're good. You're good. This was all fun. I appreciate it. Um, just want to say live Sojo, and hope to see you guys next week.